I will share my screen and we'll get right into it. I know it's Monday, and I know you're eager to get on with doing actual design and getting stuck into things with your teams. So let me just present this. Selling your designs to stakeholders. On Friday, I told you that you would leave with tools to tackle your imposter syndrome. Today, you're going to have a bit more of an understanding on how to sell your ideas, sell your prototypes, sell whatever it is you want to people you are presenting to. If it's folks that you need buy-in from or approval from, they should be listening to you after you've gone through all of these points and thinking, oh, you know what you're talking about. So the agenda for today is going to be super quick because I'm actually only here until 10 today. Physically, I will be here for a bit longer than that. I know it's a bit shorter. I just had a meeting thrown at me over the weekend, so I have to take care of it. But I've condensed everything to, I think, its basest components. So you'll have something of a working day with your group as well. So I'm spinning it as a positive. Yeah, I can do it later. I just won't be here for the 9:30 till 11:30 slot that I initially scheduled. So as you can see, Lab 1 grading is ongoing. Agile grading is ongoing because I'm attending all of your syncs. If you feel like I've attended a daily, or if I have attended a daily, invite me to your retro. If I've been invited to a retro, invite me to a daily. Some of you have been very good at spamming me, so keep up the good work. I'll try and respond to meeting invites as soon as I get them. A reminder that if you haven't submitted case studies or arranged the individual presentation as a follow-on from Lab 1, please arrange that so that we can get that put behind us and you can focus on Lab 2.
The case study? The case study, if you have it in your portfolio, that's fine. Or you still want to...
This is totally a formatting error. Those of you who've just spoken up now, you don't need to worry about that. You've done your thing, but reminder is supposed to go under Lab 1. So it's totally my bad. So Lab 1, folks, if you haven't handed in me your case studies or anything, just make sure you get them to me this week, because I know that there are some still outstanding. Okay? You don't need to worry. You're all sorted. Okay? Arrange individual presentations as well. So what I do have for you, I've edited this, is I've got a little how-to. How do you do your client and stakeholder presentations? It has a lot of don't do this, which I'm very proud to say is a result of me making all the mistakes you can make under the sun when trying to get buy-in from seniors and colleagues alike. And then in your own time, I've got a long YouTube video. It's not 40 minutes. It's actually almost closer to an hour long. And I did say I would send an ebook to those of you who finish it. So Petra, you're in debt to me because I've sent you the ebook already. Basically, the guy whose YouTube video has, who I'm plugging here, he's written a lot of stuff that I still reflect on after listening to it for 15 odd years now. So I'm not saying it's all correct, but it's something you should take in and then decide for yourself if you want to have it as part of your toolbox. So yes, I'm breadcrumbing an ebook at the very end if you manage to finish the YouTube video. I'll explain more about how that mechanism works later on. I've only got 12 slides, so we're going to get through this really quickly. Hopefully it's going to bring up the energy a little bit, and also you'll get more energy the sooner you leave this presentation and get into your groups and start working. So that's essentially what I'm gunning for. These are very unattractive slides. I apologize for that, but at the same time, it's got the essence. It's got everything that you need. You've got to persuade and you've got to be a salesperson. We don't really like sales. As designers, we kind of want to say, hey, everything should speak for itself. And I know I've said that to you plenty of times. I'm a walking contradiction. And you will be as well. Just embrace it. Good design doesn't sell itself. Make it clear how your design matches to business outcomes. it might surprise some of you, but I actually have a terrible time communicating inside of these client presentations or stakeholder presentations. I never do a good job of saying, if there's one thing you leave this room with, it's that I made this button and this page this way so that people can buy more airplane tickets. When I say it like this right now to you guys, it sounds like a good idea. Mark, you should lead with that, end with it, maybe put that in the middle somewhere. But it's very easy to get stuck into the niceties, especially if you're somebody with a disposition that I think all of us have, which is friendliness. You have a personability. Sometimes you want to be there, present. You want to show up, not just as a professional, but also as somebody who is keen to show that they care about a problem. I would say if you have any discussion internally about what you should do in a presentation, just go for this and screw all the rest of it. Make it clear how your design matches to business outcomes. You're all good at it, and I'm not saying this as you didn't do that in your first presentation, but really lean on that for the rest of your career, and then you'll be fine. A good designer who can sell work is more valuable than a great designer who can't. People far more clever than me, academically inclined than me, with way more accolades to their name, letters after their name, so on and so forth. They won't be able to touch some of the work that folks like me who can perhaps do a decent sales pitch, decent, not great, they won't be able to get anywhere near the work that I'm stealing from them, just because they're not able to remove themselves from the icky part of salesmanship or salespersonship. So yeah, make it clear how your design matches to business outcomes. Treat yourself like an expert. You have to be the one that takes charge of the energy in the room, especially if you have a bunch of seniors. It's incredibly tough. I said something about reading the room to a few of you, quite a few times actually, at the beginning of the year. And I would say when you're approaching a meeting and you've got maybe two seniors, by the way, if you're ever in a room with two seniors and you haven't spoken to them before, that's a big boo-boo. You always want to have a set-up meeting or a warm-up with one of them to get allyship, to get an alliance formed, so that you can sell to the other senior person. I won't go into that just now, but essentially, you've got to read the room, and then you've got to find yourself a bit above it, distance yourself from it a little bit and say, hey, I am going to, and when I say project, I'm saying project, not project. You've got to project that influence that you're going to have, because it's a promise you're making to them and to yourself. Hey, I'm going to be the expert here. You're going to sit down and listen to what I have to say. So you can make them feel safe and taken care of. Again, we're not making friends with them. We're taking care of their flipping business needs so that they don't have to go back to their boss and say, we didn't manage to do that design, and essentially everything, all of our sales funnels didn't fulfill our targets for this quarter. And then they have to go home and tell their wife, hey, I've kind of been laid off. Or you have to go back home and tell your husband the same thing. I realize it's like I keep on having to do my gender switches here because there's lots of us. A very good spread. Anyways, so you take my point, right? It's about trying to create that sense of I've got you in mind, but you've got to really do the uncomfortable thing and let me be the expert here, even if you're super senior. And that's Sully Sullenberger, who landed that plane in the river. The guy in the YouTube video I'm sharing with you later on today, or that you'll watch later on today, hopefully, says that he landed a plane in a river. How amazing is that? And there's one part during the whole radio transcript, if you've seen the film, where he mentions my cockpit, and everybody just goes, okay, he's in charge. And if you don't feel like you're in charge, I'm going to say cancel the effing meeting, walk out, don't disrespect yourself enough to just sit there and take somebody else steamroller you. But in more realistic terms, what that means is that you don't need to react too much to everything. If you feel like you're getting steamrollered, there's another slide on this, you don't have to react to it. You can just sit there and just Just feel it. That's okay. You're getting steamrollered, Mark. It's all good. We're not going to promise anything. We're not going to nod. We're not going to sit there and just agree with anybody verbally. Don't give off those cues. Just distance yourself from it and go, okay, we'll circle back. Are you done now? We'll circle back. And then that's the meeting done. You hang up. In a way, it's a bit like this. Because what you're saying is, okay, one Tom Hanks movie to another Tom Hanks movie, right? I'm the captain now. You're not relinquishing control if you're saying, hey, you've had your little tirade, you want the product to go this way, you maybe want this particular interface done a certain way. You're not relinquishing control by being silent. You're probably getting more of it. And everybody in the room is going to see that as well. I've made the mistake of reacting too quickly, and instantly I could feel it. My clout went right down, and I couldn't speak with those people ever again. I had to get replaced by another designer. Off of my own whim, I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to carry this, because I made that fatal mistake of saying, you're absolutely right, I shouldn't have used that color or that filter mechanism. Even now I'm thinking about it, I want to hit that person so much who just basically wanted and steamrolled my design. He had every right to. I wasn't in a position where I could call it my cockpit, and it was because I was too reactive. I'll tell you a little bit more about what made me reactive so that you can think about it whenever you are presenting to your teammates or presenting to clients in the future. We're doing interfaces. So one of the important things you've got to do when you're talking to your stakeholders, and I know that 10 minutes seems like a lot or very short amount of time. I was actually a little bit surprised when folks came to me and said, I think 10 minutes is quite a long time. It's quite a short time to present my lab or my project, because we're doing an interface prototype of a whole website. But in reality, everyone knows what an FAQ section is going to look like. Everyone knows what a product page is going to look like. Everybody knows how a list of products is going to behave, a search function, a filter functionality. You're probably looking more at flows, etc. So a little hint there. If you can tell that story in a really nice, succinct way, and you leave anything out, then folks can ask questions. You don't have to do a real estate tour and say something along the lines of, well, if you look over here, you've got your cancel button. It's really small on the screen, I can tell, but you can also go down here and there's a drive button on this cap thing, and then we have a graph showing you positioning of the drill bits, and there's a video feed. Nobody fucking cares. What they want to know is yeah, this thing drives that thing in space. You line up these circles together. Once they're connected, then this lights up and you can press drive. And you can do it with the joysticks. Any questions? Good. Meeting adjourned. That's it. So like I say, I'm a bit surprised that 10 minutes is what it needs to demonstrate 3 improvements to a user flow, but I'm totally willing to be proven wrong. I'll keep an open mind. I think that's the key. You don't want to be a captain by being arrogant. You want to be a captain by being humble and curious. So, yeah, I explained that slide to you, so let's move on. So, when you're delivering your material, the last thing you want to be doing as well, and I've done this as recently as this time last year. Same client I told you about. I tell myself he's a nightmare client. That's a story I told myself. I was a nightmare designer because I said, we did this iteration, and then 2 days later I thought of this idea, and then I did this iteration, and you can see that in this filter functionality. I'm not going to show you these designs ever because it's not the 40 minutes of gold. So I'm afraid I can't show you that. Maybe I will when I have enough therapy sessions. But no one remembers the bronze medalist. No one remembers the flipping offshoots, the offcuts. They might be really precious to you, and they will be for when you do your talks, when you want to gather information for somebody who's looking at your skills. Oh, what have you worked on? Oh, I've done this. Okay, great. Can you tell me you're working? Yeah, I can pull up the Figma file. That's appropriate. It's not appropriate for when you're trying to show off a winning design. Don't show you're working too much. It's about reading the room a little bit. show them the 40 minutes of gold out of, let's say, the 4 months of work. That's typically what would go through my head if I were entering a sign-off or approval stage in a meeting for a couple of seniors. Maybe treat the presentation at the end of this project like that. Maybe. Don't take any and all feedback as a change request. Why is that button that way, Mark? Oh, I can change it. Instant clout just disappears out the window. You lose all sense of credibility. Your reputation is now in the gutter in that meeting. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just sit with it. Sometimes we want to feel like we want... Sometimes, and I know this to be a fact for a lot of us, we want that validation that we're doing a good job and we want it straight away. So you don't take that discomfort and sit with it for a little bit. Take the discomfort, sit with it for a little bit, because it'll feel comfortable to say, oh, I can change that in the moment. But then you have the knock-on effect of you losing your credibility as a designer on that project for a long time after. You'll have to work back quite hard to get it to a level you're happy with, or to the level you had when you first started the project. Of course there are valid inputs. Of course there are valid questions. But so often I find myself instantly reacting because I want to please that person. Oh, give me that validation. Give me the 2 thumbs up. Try not to do that. So yeah, think about it. State that you're thinking about it. That's interesting. You mentioned the button. I'll have a little think and I'll get back to you. Just for transparency's sake, we got to this stage because our evidence pointed towards this blue being very well tested, and it's also part of the communication guidelines. It's part of the brand guidelines. We'll get pushback from marketing if we change it to another color. Don't just say, I can change that. That's the lesson. There's another aspect to this as well, which is where sometimes you can have somebody senior look at it and take a very high level view and just go, yeah, this doesn't feel very intuitive. This doesn't feel very user friendly. You have to hold back every single fiber of your being from saying, you don't even know what that word means. You're not allowed to say it. You've got to stop yourself from climbing over the desk and throttling them. I know I do almost every time I have a new project, because I have to train, you have to design, you have to train each new client and each new customer how to work with you and how do you use words. So I know we haven't updated our terms of glossary of terms in a long time, but the glossary of terms is such a key deliverable at the beginning of a project. And I say that because when you start to align your vocabulary with the clients and the customers, they start to talk to you like you're the experts instead of them doing their whole... It's like the doctors with patients looking up their own diagnoses online. You don't want that happening to you. You're the doctor, WebMD, SchmebMD. If somebody takes a big high-level view and says, it doesn't look like you put enough work onto this, you have to sit with that, I'm afraid. Don't react to it. Just treat it like that tantrum. It's okay. Are you done now? Is that everything? We'll circle back. We'll get back to you and take back that captaincy on your own terms, because you know best. Don't take any and all feedback as change requests. This is the video that I got a lot of inspiration from over the years. I think it was released like just around COVID time. And it's 13 ways designers screw up client presentations. Transparency, I just put down the things that I've been making mistakes on, and then I listened to his YouTube. I listened to this YouTube video on the off chance this weekend, and I thought, okay, well, that's a perfect complement to articulating your design decisions, because articulating your design decisions to other designers only gets you so far. It gets you like to the door where you have the meeting with the seniors, the people who haven't been in the trenches with you. It takes you up to that point with confidence, and then when you go in there, you have the applause of your fellow designers at your back. You can still hear the clapping as you walk in, and then when you take the seat, you've got to do all of these things. You've got to sell. How are you going to be credible? How is your design credible? So watch this, and once you're done with that, I thought I only had 2 people, 2 more downloads available for me, but because I can share the EPUB book, Petra, you confirmed it. I want you to message me on Teams individually, because I want to know like who's actually watched the YouTube video, and I would like you to say something that you've found new or interesting or even exciting, because he's a very animated talker, and it's a little bit of a research thing for me as well. Personally, I want to know what resonates with you from that talk. Don't take everything that he says at face value, same as you don't take everything I say at face value. Bring your salt, and just message me. Mark, I found this quite interesting, what you said. And then I'll send you the EPUB of his book, which is called You're My Favorite Client. What happens then is we're going to go from articulating design decisions. We've covered how to sell your design, and then we're going to go to, on Wednesday, feedback. How do you actually deal with feedback? And I think the thing here is not about the client. We can deal with the client. What I think we all struggle with is the internal feedback we give ourselves. So that's something I'll focus more on Wednesday, 9 till 10. I think that's a nice red thread. I think you'll love doing all of this stuff, but make sure that when you walk into that presentation in 3 weeks today, maybe. Make it till you make it. Every time that I've felt like I've had a shaky foundation or a shaky house to walk in with, it's because I've had a shaky foundation and a shaky house. I don't want to have my stuff built out of straw. I want it to be concrete. I want it to be heavy. I want it to be backed by everything I can get my hands on. Do the research, put in the reps UI-wise. So if you're not doing things like I highlighted on Friday, start doing the things. Start syncing with your group. Use them. Start putting in iterations into your Figma channel, into your Figma file. Reach out to me if you want me to look at anything in your Figma file. Show and talk about the good stuff. Obviously bring up the bad things as well during your syncs, but maybe this is more to do with your presentation. Final note, I guess, is be selective about what you show, be selective about what you react to. And I'll go more into the internal mechanisms of your feedback when maybe we're beating ourselves up a little bit. And I will also talk a bit about how to handle customer-client feedback too. That'll be something we cover on Wednesday. I'm going to end there. Any questions? What I'll do is I'll upload this to Distance, and I'll message you all on the general channel, and I'll let you get on with your days.
So on Wednesday we have a lecture.
We do, 9 till 10.
Mark?
Not on Friday, no. Yes.
I don't know if I missed it, but where's the YouTube video?
I will send it via the PDF that I upload to Distance.
Okay, great. Thank you.